This is Juliana Avdeeva here. Greetings tonight from the wonderful city of Leipzig, which has an amazing music history and is a very moving place for me as well, because as you all know, of course, in Leipzig, Johann Sebastian Bach spent probably the longest period of his life working here at the Thomas School and Church. So for me, I'm so happy to be here and to share some thoughts and of course the reason why I am here with you tonight. So we will be having a look on the A minor Prelude and Fugue from second book of Well-Tempered Clavier, and of course we will also be discussing a little bit the Piano Concerto number 3 by, I want to say Johann, no, not Johann, Ludwig van Beethoven. So I'm very happy to see you all. Hello everyone. Hi Martin, hi Topol, hi Gemini Yao, hi Annalise, Royal Purple, Makiko, Marek, Birgit, Alexis, Hubert and Kate. Greetings to all of you. So the reason why I'm here is actually that this Sunday and on the MDR radio there will be a broadcast of the Beethoven Piano Concerto number 3, which I will be recording tomorrow with the MDR orchestra musician and great friend of mine, Robert Trevino. So that's why I am finally out of Munich, which is of course after a longer time I spent at home. I'm very happy to be on the road again, and especially of course also had such a exciting time also learning so much about Bach. I'm very happy to be now in Leipzig. So this is that's I shared the picture in front of the Thomas Church with you already, and this is of course a very, very special, very here. He was appointed the Thomas cantor here in Leipzig in 1723 and was staying here until his death in 1750. And of course also the second book has been composed here, and many of course other important works. So this is really the time when his most also the late period works of course had. I see Martian is asking, are you nervous for the recording? Well, I'm excited for the recording, but of course, again, you might remember that the last time somehow in my feeling that that's also true, that I didn't. My last performance with orchestra was around 2 months ago. So of course I'm excited, but I'm not nervous. I'm very much looking forward to that. So the A minor Prelude and Fugue from the second book is also a very, very special one. I think it is really basically now, when we're moving to the end of the second book, slowly but surely, the complexity of the musical language in the second book is of course much more, and this is what I'm saying about this later, more mature period of Bach's work. It is his expression and also how progressive in a way his means, also harmonically as well, and the prelude. So this pair is indeed also very special. It's the prelude is interesting because it's absolutely symmetric. The first part has 16 bars as well as the second, so both will be repeated, but the mood is, I would chromatic lines in both hands. The left hand in the beginning, kind of again very suffering path going down, and the right hand also is built on the chromatic. And then they change the roles. This is a way full of uncertainty, and of course this chromaticism, it's in every bar, in every single bar here we have the left hand, it doesn't matter, it's all, the road is not, or let's say the sight is not clear, so it's indeed again searching in a fog, maybe on something for me very uncertain. Then there are many I think it's a great example of Bach's mastery in counterpoint here as well, because then in the second part from bar 16 it's all in inversion. So finally the left hand, those 8 notes in the left hand, we have the right hand takes them over, and instead of moving down it moves up, and so we have. But it doesn't feel that the mood doesn't really change, it's mirrored. So it's maybe indeed somehow I feel like I would be in a room full of mirrors, so I do not really know where I am. So this is somehow a very special prelude, and there is also no relief here in the end. So it ends again with this kind of. That's the prelude of this pair. The fugue is also for me absolutely exceptional, because the fugue is in 3, but it's such a contrast to the prelude, because that's what we have. So we have post. This is actually the very similar motive to the motive which Handel also uses at the Messiah, but this is definitely because they are more or less composed. For sure didn't hear each other pieces, but of course this characteristic, such a tension here, in a way such a determination in the message, and then completely different different articulation, and also different note lengths. And in the counter subject we have not the 8 seconds, so it's really it's such a strong. I feel it somehow like I would even say that it's kind of, the statement is already going into the direction of Beethoven somehow, because this is so with such a clear direction. There is, for me, I don't hear any doubts here in the message, because it's really with such a certainty which Bach reached here, and this is absolutely amazing. So there are no doubts in this fugue for me personally. And of course there are some beautiful, for instance in the bar 19 there is a kind of interlude where Bach managed to go within 2 bars from this key in A, go very high, look. Before coming back again to this amazing subject in the soprano in the right hand. So for me it's a great pleasure to perform for you the A minor Prelude and Fugue from the second book of Well-Tempered Clavier by Johann Sebastian Bach from Gewandhaus in from the second book of Well-Tempered Bach from Leipzig. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to make this stream from the Gewandhaus, which is of course the home place of the Gewandhaus orchestra with an amazing history. And you see that that's Felix Mendelssohn, which is joining the room with me here right now, because of course he was also the Gewandhaus Kapellmeister. That was the title of the music director of the orchestra here, I think around 12 years, from 1835 till his death in 1847. So this, of course, what I want to also express with that, Leipzig is not only the city of Bach, but also a city of Mendelssohn, who also actually premiered many works here. Basically, the Gewandhaus Orchestra did make many wonderful premieres, like for instance Beethoven's Fifth Piano Concerto was premiered here in Leipzig as well by the Gewandhaus Orchestra, as well as many Brahms pieces, and of course Schumann and Mendelssohn himself. So this is a very, very long tradition also of music here in this area. Also, we have around, let's say, 7 minutes walk from here to the work. So somehow it's all the spirit here. I really makes me somehow very, very happy, very uplifted, because I think that the certain places, they keep the spirit of the great people who have been here, who worked here, who spent lots of their life energy of bringing, moving things. And for sure this area is definitely one of those places in the history of music. So many thanks to the Gewandhaus. I can do this stream here tonight. So now coming again to the Beethoven, you see, so I mentioned the fifth already, but tonight we'll be talking about number 3, the C minor. Maybe one, let's say, the turning point in my personal feeling somehow in Beethoven's piano concerto career, because of course number 1 and number 2 are still more in a real classical tradition, and suddenly he composed the C minor. Actually, it's interesting to know how long he worked on the C minor. So there are some sketches which are apparently even from 1796, but still he premiered the concerto 3 as a soloist. He was the soloist of the performance, but by then he did not finish the piano. Well, he didn't write down the piano part. So I wanted to show you. I have the very beginning of the second movement. That was the sketch of it. So he had, maybe I'm not sure that you can see the different color also of writing that. He was actually only writing the first, in the piano part, only the melody, and not really even the harmony. And later on, that's, where am I? Here. He was writing out the ornamentation. So it's very interesting to see the process of, because you see that's the kind of gray. The harmonies are more black, so apparently he wrote them later, and the ornamentation is here. So this is really very interesting also to see how, in which stages Beethoven was working on his works. And it's actually, I'm always very surprised about that, because actually all his works sound so complete, so but apparently just to see the stages of how he was working on a theme, on a subject, on a harmony, it's very exciting because it was not just, you know, very, the idea was not there immediately. Sometimes it took him years. So finally, the C minor concerto is, of course, I don't know, it's one of, it's always very difficult to decide which which one is the favorite, but this one is really has some special, I think it deserves a special place in the soul, in the repertoire, because of maybe it's obvious that that's the only minor concerto. The other four are in major keys, but the C minor, of course, is also in Beethoven's work a very special key. It's a heroic, I mean, thinking about the Pathetic Sonata or the march, the slow movement from Eroica Symphony, or of course also later the Fifth Symphony. So this is a very special key, and this period of life well, it was a special period of life in Beethoven's time. But I think that this concerto is really absolutely amazing. Well, of course, it reminds especially the beginning, the first theme on the Mozart C minor concerto, which Beethoven indeed also adored. So that was a D minor and the C minor Mozart concertos were very highly respected and loved by Beethoven. But already this first, I think that it's even in this first motive, 4 bars, you already hear the difference between this before this concerto and after. So it's very clear, very determined, you know, it's a clear message already in this theme. Maybe it reminds on some march-like, but I would not, actually that's not the, for me, it's not the basic message of this. It's still kind of, again, for me it has something to do with fate. Because it's really also the form of the phrase is so insisting also on this. So he knows exactly, somehow Beethoven knows exactly what you want. And then we have this big contrast. Somehow this is more human, right? This has more this emotion and this. So this is a great orchestral introduction here, coming in the beginning. Of course, it's still this classical first movement forms of the orchestra, introduces all themes first. It's a long introduction, and actually I'm glad that in number 4 and number 5 he decided to start with the piano, and that somehow it's, for me, otherwise when the orchestra already introduces all these themes, this desire to also to take part, to share what you feel is of course getting even, this tension is growing, and of course finally when the piano comes, it is a great entrance. So he actually also here the interesting point is that there is not the orchestral exposition is closed, because he makes it so that could be the end of the piece, but that's not. So and of course the piano has already a kind of more, or, I mean, it's not really repeating, it also doesn't make any musical sense, so there are all, it's more speaking, it's more also stay like an maybe an opera like, so it has this very strong expression, but also here even the tonalities which he is choosing, but here, which is of course Mozart says hi, and then it's interesting because in this transition section then we have, oh, I'm sorry, in this transition section we have kind of dialogue between the orchestra and the piano. The orchestra. Always changing the roles, and I think that the most interesting, well, one of the most exciting parts in this movement and in this concerto is that the orchestra and piano, they are competing each other in a way, and it's maybe in, let's say, in C major and number 1 and number 2 concertos is more than orchestra is supporting the piano, the soloist, and here it's somehow they have contrasting material, contrasting phrases, characters, and then finally the orchestra explodes with this in the section, I mean, it's still the very beginning of the exposition, the piano exposition, that we have here the tonality E flat minor. I mean, that's such a revolution actually in this kind of music, and that he's never compromises, and that makes what makes this music so special, so unique, so amazing. Also, Beethoven is a personality. He's spirit. And then after, actually, I'm very happy that at least, you know, that in number 4 he composes, actually, already in the first page when the piano enters, I mean, not in the theme, but later on, the uncomfortable passage comes very soon, so here still it's great melody, this amazing, but still it's I don't know, I feel it's still in a way, it's not quiet. It has this philosophic questions somehow, especially also those those sforzati, you know, that he writes here. That's really special. It's great, amazing contrast. So then later it's you know, then the orchestra plays this, and now the piano. time, because the same, first it comes, this element comes at the orchestra, and then the piano takes over. So this is somehow this perpetual motion change between the orchestra and the piano. This is that makes it so lively, this this movement. And what is also interesting in this movement, but it appears also later in the fifth concerto, that Beethoven very often writes different dynamic in the piano and in the orchestra. So sometimes the orchestra has very, very soft places like piano and pianissimo, when the piano really a very energetic element, like so it's full of contrast. It's never predictable in a way, and this makes this music so unique and so special. And of course the development section after the orchestra tutti, when it arrives in a kind of so-called D major, but this is we were discussing that with Robert today, that this is D major, which feels like D minor. It's not. It doesn't bring any relief. It is like, you know, the earth is yeah, that you are going very, very, very deep to the hell or whatever. So this is really such a dramatic moment. And then the development section is again more wandering through the tonalities, searching for the answers. So he starts in the G minor. It's interesting that in this concerto, actually it's not possible to imagine the piano part without, as you see now we're definitely missing something. And it's different in Mozart concertos, and it's different in Chopin concertos, where the piano part you can play it without, in a way, without the orchestra. And here it is indeed, on one hand, they do not, the piano part and the orchestra, they do not exist without each other. So the orchestra has also this pulse, and the piano. This is something, some kind of very, again, and not, it's searching for answers for me. That's how I feel like. And then we have the same in the F minor, which sounds even more cold in a way. And then we have but it's all in a very it's the dynamic is rather soft, and there are no clear ways where we go to. And the wind players have the only constant thing we have is always yeah. So the development section is indeed searching for answers. And the beautiful part is, of course, also the enter of the beginning of the recap. Again, with the great confrontation between the orchestra and the piano. So the orchestra. So still there are so many of those human moments, you know, when Beethoven is really expressing such a, I feel also pain this goes away. Yeah, this has something very deep emotional. The great cadenza, which Beethoven composed only one cadenza for this concerto. It is, of course, he uses many of his cadenzas, different themes from the first movement, also modified like. Different tonalities, and this enormous power which he develops here in this cadenza, also going through the D flat major, and then arriving at this again, this D major which we had in the development section, which sounds so tragic, and then of course the lyrical, the second theme comes. Presto. Disaster and a great outbreak, and of course this is one has for me something also to do with Bach, yes, because of this oral point, of course, and this triplet figuration, and yeah, so this is a wonderful, somehow is very radical already, but it expresses the entire, for me, the entire Beethoven spirit in a way, because it's I don't know, the idea of this, the emotional message of this music is just so strong in my perception, so that's why I really adore it. The second movement is of course the movement which is again something extraordinary, because it's in E major, which is so far away actually in that traditional sense and in the classical sense from the C minor, and you know that this is of course something, this beginning kind of tricky or difficult, because we have this original pedal of Beethoven for the entire harmonical changes. So actually, of course, on the hammer, on the forte piano, on the piano of the Beethoven time, the overtones were, of course, they were different, and the piano was very different. So the mixture of those harmonies was not so obvious as it is on our modern pianos. But nevertheless, I think it's worth it to try to find a way to keep this pedal, because I think it's an effect, it's a kind of effect which he was searching for, and just to give it up because I think it's too. So yeah, I try to find the. Of course, it depends on the place where I perform, and also on the pedal, how good it is regulated. But there are some options to find a good pedal solution for this place. But this thing is so amazing. but at the same time with such a incredible expressivity, intensity of the melody, and again those moments like this. Who expects here G major? This is really a wonder. So the entire movement again is a kind of dialogue between the piano and the orchestra, and there are beautiful bel canto places like, for instance, this. Yeah, kind of operatic moment. Some beautiful section in G major where piano has a very is accompanying the soloist, the bassoon, and the flute is answering. So it lives in this communication between the orchestra, between the soloist in the orchestra, and of course the piano. The last movement, the rondo, is that's the movement where again the piano starts, somehow takes the leading role comparing to the first movement, and this is the theme. And then the orchestra. So it's again, it's so now it's more maybe again another type of competing. It's more like changing the roles between the piano and the orchestra. Extremely energetic theme in the rondo with a great energy with this. Also with the organ point, which reminds in a way on Bach, but at the same time with the completely different, very light, very festive in a way mood. So this is in a way great with a fire here. I don't know, such a joy to play this movement, and of course the finale is the presto with this C major part, which is again, of course, it's related to the main. So in a completely different context, and this is this genius of Beethoven, who really is able to change so many, to change the details, to develop the smallest elements, to use them in different contexts, and this makes again this music so, but also challenging to play, to be honest. Well, that's my personal feeling. So I'm really so much looking forward to perform this concerto with Robert Trevino and the MDR orchestra. And so please don't forget to tune in this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. in Central European Time. I will put the link into the description for this video, so that you can also tune in to the C minor concerto number 3, which I will be recording tomorrow. So Sunday, 7:30 p.m. MDR radio broadcast. Thank you so much for joining this special stream from Leipzig, from Gewandhaus. Thank you so much for making it possible, and yeah, I hope that you will have a good weekend and tune in to the radio broadcast on Sunday. So thanks a lot. Keep well, keep safe, and see you very, very soon. Bye bye.